Podcast at the AC Marriott Hotel in New Kingston on achieving economic benefits through marine stewardship, a council certification of the conch fisheries industry in Jamaica. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile at Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app this Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday, March 26, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by the new Crunch sandwich from KFC. Available in hot and spicy or barbecue for just $600. A finger-licking good deal at KFC.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Speaker of the House of Representatives Juliet Holness has backed down from her previous position regarding the tabling of reports from the Auditor General's Department. During Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives, Mrs. Holness directed that 2 reports from the Auditor General be tabled. This after previously instructing that those same reports be returned to the department without tabling. The House Speaker says she will meet with the Auditor General sometime this week to seek agreement on a harmonious way forward. Shalois Michael has our story.
In November of 2023, Mrs. Holness ruled that reports from the Auditor General regarding statutory bodies must first be sent to the Portfolio Minister before being tabled in the House. Despite the ruling, Auditor General Pamela Monroe Ellis continued to follow the original convention of sending the reports directly to Parliament. One such report was sent in December of 2023 and another in January this year. These reports were then sent back to the Auditor General last week. Mrs. Monroe Ellis on Monday then resubmitted the same reports, triggering a standoff with the House Speaker. It's a challenge Mrs. Holness has seemingly backed away from.
I have taken note of the varying different legal perspective, and I continue to hold the view that in law there continues to be a dissonance in the interpretation of how the reports on public bodies should be tabled. I have taken a further decision to today table the reports which are in question, and additionally seek to further resolve the issues as it relates to the appropriate mechanism to table said reports, and will include, in addition to continued consultation, having a meeting, a discussion with the Auditor General, hopefully later this week.
Meanwhile, Leader of Opposition Business in the House, Philip Polwell, again called on Mrs. Holness to provide the legal opinion of the Attorney General that informed her initial ruling.
You did say that you had received a legal opinion from the Attorney General's chambers. And, Madam Speaker, I think in light of everything and our various appeals to see that opinion, that you should provide us at the earliest opportunity, and we do believe that it should be today, with a sight of the opinion. And you did say that you would be having consultation with the Auditor General. We would like to be involved in that consultation as well.
But Mrs. Holness would not be moved.
I remain in the same position I did when the ruling was given, in that the opinion of the Parliamentary Legal Counsel was circulated to the Parliament and the public. That has not changed.
We want to repeat our claim.
You can repeat, and I'm saying the Speaker's ruling, member, with absolute respect, is final in this regard. There is nothing to hide.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Polwell called on Mrs. Holness to withdraw her letter accusing the clerk to the Houses of Parliament, Valerie Curtis, of dereliction of duty.
This matter is now a public matter. It occurred largely because of the email that was sent to all of us, and with the letter. And, Madam Speaker, I know that there might be discussions taking place, but I don't think the public would feel satisfied of your coming today, going through the process without saying something. We were really expecting that the letter would have been withdrawn today, Madam Speaker. And that is really our position.
Mrs. Holness refused, noting that the matter between herself and Ms. Curtis remains under discussions.
Thank you, members. I note your request as it relates to further steps to be had with the Auditor General. And on the matter of the clerk, I advise you, both from myself and the clerk, that we are in dialogue and wish to say nothing else at this time.
Juliet Holness, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark today blasted opposition leader Mark Golding over what he feels was his unprincipled attack on Speaker of the House Juliet Holness. Dr. Clark used the opening segment of his closing budget presentation to chastise the opposition leader for what he says is a pattern of hypocrisy. Mahiri Stewart tells us more.
Dr. Clark described Mr. Golding's comments about Juliet Holness as one of the lowlights of recent parliamentary discourse.
Madam Speaker, when the Leader of the Opposition made his contribution to the budget debate, he included the words, "When the former Speaker was forced to resign as a result of the Integrity Commission investigation, the move to replace her with the wife of the Prime Minister, so that the head of Parliament is now the spouse of the head of government, does not sit well with the tradition that the Speaker must act independently of the government of the day." Madam Speaker, as others have pointed out, we on this side, and there are others on the outside, who thought that that was low. Not recognizing her 3-year tenure as Deputy Speaker, and therefore the natural successor, is, in my view, disrespectful to the highest degree.
The Finance Minister says Mr. Golding was sending the wrong message when he sought to reduce Juliet Holness to just being the wife of the Prime Minister. Dr. Clark went further, pointing to instances where Mr. Golding, through his words, has reduced the standing of even those who serve with him on the opposition benches, namely the spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson.
Although the opposition member with finance responsibility got up and publicly gave support on behalf of the opposition to my statement outlining the details, days later, Madam Speaker, the opposition of the opposition leader, meaning opposition run by the opposition leader, issues a statement that completely contradicted the support offered by the opposition finance spokesman, undermined him, emasculated him, Madam Speaker, and meant we cannot trust what he says unless Mark is present.
Dr. Clark says Mark Golding's treatment of Julian Robinson has given the Jamaican people cause to question the sincerity of statements from those who speak on the opposition's behalf.
And the member from St. Andrew Southeastern, who has responsibility to the shadow, he's an opposition spokesman on finance. How can we rely on his word when he's publicly ridiculed, emasculated, and undermined in that way? That is not leadership, Madam Speaker, that anyone can trust. Madam Speaker, the opposition leader can publicly emasculate Philip and Julian. They may not have people to speak up for them, but let me tell you this, don't touch Juliet.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Dr. Clark says the PNP did not start Jamaica on the path to fiscal responsibility that has helped to deliver the economic gains realized by the country over the past few years. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The finance minister sought to debunk what he says is the myth peddled by the PNP that the country's current economic stability was engineered under the Simpson-Miller administration that was in office between 2012 and 2016. According to Dr. Clark, that distinction belongs to the JLP administration led by Bruce Golding and Finance Minister Audley Shaw from 2007 to 2011. He says Prime Minister Golding had to contend with an over 900% increase in debt due to the reckless policies of the PNP administration, which he unseated from office.
There was a 952% increase in the debt accumulation during that period of time. That is unmistakable fact. Nothing they say can change that. Nothing. And then you look at the next period, Madam Speaker, which is the period April 2008 to March 2012. The debt accumulation dropped from 952% to 66%. Yeah? And then under the Portia Simpson administration, it dropped even further to 24%. And then under us, it has dropped even further to 6%, Madam Speaker, over 7 years.
He says Prime Minister Golding's attempt at fiscal reform only failed due to the lack of social will in the country. Dr. Clark says the Simpson-Miller administration was only able to solve the problem it created because the International Monetary Fund, IMF, forced them to be responsible.
PNP cannot claim to be fiscally responsible, as history will show that the PNP government has never been fiscally responsible when they have a choice. Madam Speaker, examine the record from 1972 to 1980, and examine the record from 1989 to 2007, when they had choice. Fiscal responsibility is not determined by when you have no choice and your hands are tied. Implementing fiscal responsible policies when you have no choice in the matter and your hands are tied is not a demonstration of fiscal responsibility.
He says the Holness administration since 2016 have voluntarily maintained the principle of fiscal stability.
Under this government, we have had choice. We graduated from an IMF program in 2019. We went through COVID on our own steam with homegrown policies, homegrown ideas. We displayed fiscal responsibility before the crisis, during the crisis, after the crisis, leading Jamaica to one of the fastest, most complete recoveries in the Western Hemisphere. We piloted Jamaica through the worst economic storms in our history, Madam Speaker, on our own. That is fiscal responsibility.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the finance minister took a further jab at the opposition leader over his criticism of the government's reverse income tax credit scheme. The reverse credit will see Jamaicans who earn $3 million or less annually being able to receive a $20,000 cash payment each fiscal year. The opposition leader, in his budget presentation, suggested that the government scrap the measure and use the funds earmarked for that to assist with raising the income tax threshold to $2 million.
I heard opposition leaders cynically suggest that the $11.4 billion that is being used to finance the one-off reverse income tax credit ought to be diverted towards those earning above the income tax threshold, and by so doing, increase the income tax threshold further. Madam Speaker, I was shocked to hear that. I was absolutely shocked to hear that. Madam Speaker, we are directing a benefit of $11.4 billion to persons who earn at the lower end of the income spectrum. Are you suggesting taking away from them and giving to higher income earners?
Dr. Clark says Mr. Golding's suggestion was consistent with that of a so-called champagne socialist.
That is an approach, Madam Speaker, that we call champagne socialists. And that is what you get, Madam Speaker, from an unprincipled, cynical, flip-flop approach to policymaking. Not only would that suggestion be regressive, the opposite of progressive, it would also be fiscally questionable, given that the source of funding for the one-off reverse income tax credit is non-recurring.
Dr. Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and the Public Service. You're listening to the news on Nationwide 90 FM. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
21 minutes past 5.
Rent-to-Kill Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rent-to-Kill Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rent-to-Kill is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
You have dreams and goals for the future. You want to make an impact. The UWI-MONA, the #1 ranked university in the Caribbean, will help you reach your full potential. Our students have gone on to make their mark in all areas, locally and globally. Industry leaders, heads of state, and Rhodes Scholars all got their start with us. Legacies are made at the UWI-MONA. Start building yours. Apply by March 31st at mona.uwi.edu/apply.
Continuing the news, The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF has launched a beat officer patrol division across the Kingston and St. Andrew metropolitan region. The rollout, which falls under the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSTEB, forms part of the JCF's move to bolster public safety and strengthen community policing efforts. Now, Assistant Commissioner of Police ACP Gary Mackenzie is the head of PSTEB.
The spread is from Constant Spring right into downtown Kingston. It began operation March the 25th. The objectives of the Beat Officer Patrol Division include high visibility and reassurance of citizens. We need to ensure public order as well as public safety, especially within public spaces. We aim also to be highly visible and preventive in areas that have a lot of traffic, to include pedestrians and other persons who are conducting their business.
ACP Mackenzie confirmed plans to expand the division to rural Jamaica.
It includes personnel on foot patrol. It includes personnel that are on bicycle and e-bike patrols. And the reason for this is that within the areas that are highly dense with persons moving in and about, the use of cars sometimes do not allow the police to survey and quickly respond, especially when we have persons such as pickpockets and other persons who might be in conflict with other persons. And so this particular Beat Officer Patrol Division is expected to treat with issues like these. So, of course, it will spread across the country in a timely manner.
ACP Gary Mackenzie, head of PSTEB.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute. A brawl at the Port of Spain prison on Tuesday morning left 6 prisoners and 5 prison officers needing medical treatment. The Trinidad Newsday is reporting that senior prison officials say the disturbance stemmed from a dispute between a prisoner and a prison officer who was escorting him to his cell around 11 a.m. Several other prisoners jumped into the fray and the prison officers then swarmed the area, leading to a mass brawl. The incident lasted 10 minutes before prison officials were able to bring things under control. The injured persons were taken to hospital for treatment.
Data from app monitoring company Sensor Tower says the use of Twitter in the United States has slumped by more than a fifth since Elon Musk bought the site and rebranded it to X. As of February 2024, the social network's daily app users in America had fallen by 23% since November 2022, just after Musk completed his takeover. Every other major social network experienced a reduction in the same period, but none by anywhere near X's drop in user numbers. The closest was TikTok, which fell by just short of 10%, while Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat all had user slumps of less than 5%. Globally, X fared slightly better, dropping 15% of its users to hit 174 million daily active app users.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making the nationwide news at this hour. House Speaker blinks in standoff with the Auditor General and directs that 2 reports be tabled in the time-honored fashion. And the House Speaker rejects opposition call for her to withdraw scathing letter reprimanding the clerk to the Houses of Parliament.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark blasts opposition leader Mark Golding for his attack on Juliet Holness.
But let me tell you this, don't touch Juliet.
The police announced new Beat Patrol Division as they move to retake control of the streets of the corporate area. My name is George Davis.
And I'm Robian Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available at Google Play and the App Store. Up next, Headline Sports.
News at 5 was brought to you by the new Crunch sandwich from KFC. Available in hot and spicy or barbecue for just $600. A finger-licking good deal at KFC.
Remember, every dream where you have, remember everything where you plan. With J and Bank, anything possible. With a little savings in your hand. Save so you can build the house, buy the land. You have goals and dreams, make a plan. Save so you can.
Living your best life and making memories is priceless. But saving little by little is what makes it affordable. Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Rain disrupted the start of the 2024 West Indies Rising Stars on the 15 cricket tournament in Antigua, with all three games ending in no results. The Leeward Islands elected to bat against Jamaica at Coolidge and reached 137 for 7 after 32 overs when the game was called off. That was the second stoppage in the game. LeSean Bergen led the way with 6-7 against two-wicket performances from Ekoni Robinson and Romario Salmon. At the Bethesda ground, the Windward Islands reached 83 for 4 against Trinidad and Tobago when the game was called off, while at Liberta, the game between Guyana and Barbados was abandoned without a ball bowled. Jamaica will next be in action on Thursday. They'll take on the Windward Islands at Liberta. Excelsior, they were 204-3 against St. Jago in the Issa Grey Shield cricket final at Sabina Park, and we'll update you on that one in a later sportscast. But let's move to football. Real Madrid star Jude Bellingham scored with the last kick of the game to earn England a 2-2 draw with Belgium in their international friendly at Wembley a short time ago. Yuri Tielemans was on target twice for the Belgians, who fell behind after 11 minutes through an Ivan Toney penalty. In other key friendlies today, Germany stopped the Netherlands 2-1. Rising star Endrick was again on target for Brazil. They were 2-2 with Spain with a couple of minutes to go in that game. African champions Cote d'Ivoire, they tagged Uruguay 2-1. Croatia outscored Egypt 4-2, and France defeated Chile by 3-2 in Paris. Let's go back to cricket now. The test match in the multi-format 2025 Women's Ashes Series in Australia will be a day-night game at the 100,000 capacity Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG. The test returns to a 4-day affair after it was extended to 5 days during the 2023 series in England. The pink ball game, which starts on January 30, will also end the multi-format series for the first time since it was introduced in 2015. Australia retained the Ashes with an 8-all draw against England last year. The series will also consist of 3 one-day internationals and a similar number of T20s, and each of those games are worth 2 points. Now the test is worth 4 points. The ODIs will start the series January 12 before the T20s start on January 20. Australia won the test in 2023, but England claimed both white ball series 2-1. England last won the Ashes in 2014 with a 10-8 victory down under. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05. Are we? Well, we're going to have sports again, not today, but tomorrow morning in the news at 6.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:31.
You didn't know that the government decreased JUTC bus fares? Yes, it's now 70 for adults, 25 for children, and 30 for pensioners. And in April, fares will go down even further to 50 for adults, 20 for children, and 25 for pensioners.
The temperature by the office of the Prime Minister is
32 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 29 in the western city, Montego Bay.
The Leaders Conference of Choice is back on site at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. Register now for Middle Managers Leadership Conference. Call 876-978-60012 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com. Sponsored by Make Your Mark Group, Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, JPS, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Monographic Printers, Main Event Entertainment Group, Nationwide News Network, and Visual Tech Solutions. Middle Managers Conference, May 1 to 2, 2024. Sign up at www.makeyourmarkgroup.com.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is revolutionizing your clearance experience as our contactless clearance process becomes mandatory on April 2, 2024. This process will facilitate the clearance of all non-commercial personal shipments at our seaports with a CIF value of less than $5,000 being inspected by customs without you or your agent present. You're encouraged to make your payments using our customs mobile app, JA Customs Connect. Fees payable to your shipping agent and warehouse operator remain applicable. For further information, contact your freight forwarder or email contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or call 876-922-5140-8. The JCA's contactless clearance process is convenient, efficient, and secure. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
When someone is on top of things, it shows. On top of the day, on top of the game, on top of the world. And no other card puts you in charge like your new VM Visa credit card. Every click, insert, tap, or swipe solves a problem, sweetens a moment, and unlocks rewards. So what puts you in control of purchases, payments, and a global platform of perks? This card can. Get your VM Visa Gold or Visa Platinum credit card today. For more information, visit myvmgroup.com or call us at 876-754-8627.
Shop now and save in Active Home Center Home Sweet Home Sale, Wednesday, March 20th to 27th. Take up to 30% off selected tiles, bathroom fixtures, lighting, and so much more. Shop selected 18-inch ceramic tiles starting at $199 plus GCT. This sale lasts for 1 week only, so don't miss out. Visit our showrooms in Kingston and Montego Bay. Conditions apply. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Yes, me get the last cheese. Taste the beat. Brothers and sisters, at the end of Easter service, we have cheese. Taste the beat. But one day we're getting a bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Serve, sell me some bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Why, this looking nice with some tasty cheese. Taste the beat. Could I have some cheese, please? Taste the beat. Make we get on real bad with the tasty cheese, boy. Taste the beat with tasty cheese.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school, and now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less, or two or three, at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar, and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease, and high blood pressure. The solution is simple, right? Act now. Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
KFC! New crunch sandwich from KFC. Great flavor, great price, it's for me. KFC signature, hot and spicy. Chicken with the lettuce, mayo, fries and Pepsi. We've got you covered when you're hungry. The new crunch sandwich from KFC. We've got you covered when you're hungry. The new crunch sandwich from KFC.
Hungry for deals? Get the new crunch sandwich combo from KFC. A small hot and spicy chicken sandwich with lettuce and mayo, plus fries and a Pepsi for just $600. Also available in barbecue. A finger licking good deal. KFC.
5:35 on this Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday, March 26, 2024. This is the cover story. My name is George Davis.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Well, we started well after 5, given that the finance minister's presentation crept into the 5 o'clock hour, but we were still able to get in the news and start the cover story not too far from the designated start point, Siobhan.
Yeah, we're essentially right on time, just about a minute off.
Yeah, well, yeah, I hear it. I work with that. We must tell you that Cliff Hughes is going to come from the AC Marriott Hotel in New Kingston at the top of the hour at 6, a live broadcast, Achieving Economic Benefits through Marine Stewardship Council certification of the Conch fishery of Jamaica. The Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Floyd Green, will be there, and the OB will be about everything Conch. So from 6 to 8 p.m., the Jamaica Conch Cluster, they are the sponsors of the broadcast, and Cliff Hughes and the team will pilot the coverage for us. But today in the Parliament, Siobhan, everybody was glued to see what, if anything, the House Speaker would say about the, to quote the Attorney-at-Law Harold Brady, the local hot matter.
Well, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, that's Juliet Holness, did seemingly back down from her previous position regarding the tabling of reports from the Auditor General Department. During Tuesday's sitting of the House, Mrs. Holness directed that the 2 reports from the Auditor General that were outstanding be tabled. This after previously instructing that those same reports be returned to the department without tabling.
I have taken note of the varying different legal perspective, and I continue to hold the view that in law there continues to be a dissonance in the interpretation of how the reports on public bodies should be tabled. I have taken a further decision to today table the reports which are in question, and additionally seek to further resolve the issues as it relates to the appropriate mechanism to table said reports, and will include, in addition to continued consultation, having a meeting, a discussion with the Auditor General, hopefully later this week.
Well, in the lead-in, Siobhan, you did say seemingly back down, but it is a backing down by Juliet Holness, and perhaps she's saying, you know what, for good sense to prevail, let me take a step back. Let me let the time-honored tradition of the way the reports are tabled proceed for now, but I'll have that discussion or those discussions with the Auditor General and seek to find harmony going forward. It is a change from what she signaled she intended to do, or how she intended to treat reports submitted by the Auditor General's Department when she spoke in Parliament. Was it last year?
Yes, November
November 2023. Right. Well, speaking of November 2023, at that time, Mrs. Holness ruled that reports from the Auditor General's Department regarding statutory bodies must first be sent to the Portfolio Minister before being tabled in the House. Now, it was that ruling that Mrs. Holness was leaning on when she said, well, if they're sent directly from the AG's department, please send them back and have her send them to the appropriate minister, as I have ruled. Despite that ruling, the Auditor General continued to follow the original convention of sending the reports directly to Parliament. Leader of Opposition Business in the House, Philip Powell, requested an explanation from the House Speaker about her decision to table the reports today. He again called on her to share the legal opinion that the Attorney General provided to inform Mrs. Holness's position on how reports from the Auditor General should be treated.
Madam Speaker, in light of your advice to the Parliament just now, I'd like to ask just 2 questions. Firstly, you have indicated that you will proceed to table the reports that have been outstanding for 3 months today. And we believe that that is a good and correct move to make on your part. However, we still would like to understand the original basis for withholding them, and you did say that you had received a legal opinion from the Attorney General's chambers. And Madam Speaker, I think in light of everything and our various appeals to see that opinion, that you should provide us at the earliest opportunity, and we do believe that it should be today, with a sight of the opinion. And you did say that you would be having consultation with the Auditor General. We would like to be involved in that consultation as well. And finally, Madam Speaker, I thought you would have gone further today, because yesterday was a significant day in our Parliament when a letter which was sent to the clerk became known to us. And it has caused us on this side tremendous distress, especially as we anticipate that the clerk Well, we know that the clerk is about to demit office, having served this parliament for so long. And the tone of it, Madam Speaker, I don't think we as a parliament could proceed today without having a discussion on this point. And for you, Madam Speaker, to indicate really what motivated that action yesterday in upbraiding the clerk, in disciplining the clerk in the way that it was done in the public.
That's the leader of opposition business in the House, Philip Pollard. And I see some of our friends on YouTube in the platform complaining about why it is that we have chosen this issue to highlight in the cover story on the day when Dr. Clark put on provided a comprehensive rebuttal to points made by the opposition leader and opposition spokesman on finance in their budget presentations as he closed the budget debate today. I say to you, look at the fact the opening segment of Dr. Clark's budget was spent dealing with this issue. When in the independent history of this country have you seen a circumstance where the speaker is under the pressure that Juliet Holness is under, upbraiding the clerk to the houses of the parliament in a letter that has made its way in the public domain? So the clerk's role and position, disrepute attends to that. The speaker's role and position, disrepute attends to that, given that it was that issue which sparked a government walkout of a budget debate last week, and all the attendant noise around the suppression of reports and whether reports are indeed being suppressed, and if there are people inside the parliament who are seeking to sabotage the speaker, and the finance minister saw it fit outside of custom to use the opening segment of his budget presentation to address that issue. That underscores how important this issue is, and that is why we feel it necessary to zero in on that bit of the finance minister's presentation today, because believe me, there will be time to go through the rest of what Dr. Clark had to say, given that it was so comprehensive and there was so much information provided for the completion of perspective. All right, we'll take a break and we come back with more.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go want to buy this back. So good, it's just so good. Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good. Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Yeah. Get the BMI check, your blood pressure check, your blood sugar and cholesterol check. We're living well when we stay on top of our health. Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Know your numbers and take control. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
JampJA.org. Mind the business JA with Jump Online. Are your business? They keep your government in line.
Funded by the European Union and the UK International Development.
Welcome back to the Nationwide Cover Story. We are playing for you, we're refreshing your mind about what happened at the start of today's proceedings in Parliament when the issue of the treatment of two reports from the Auditor General's Department were dealt with by the House Speaker, Juliet Holness, and then the Finance Minister used the opening segment of his budget presentation to also weigh in on the matter, Siobhan.
Yes, in his budget debate, the closing budget debate presentation, Dr. Clark came to the defense of the House Speaker. Dr. Clark said the posture taken by Opposition Leader Mark Golding in referring to the Speaker as merely the Prime Minister's wife was disrespectful.
Madam Speaker, when the Leader of the Opposition made his contribution to the budget debate, he included the words, when the former Speaker was forced to resign as a result of the Integrity Commission investigation, the move to replace her with the wife of the Prime Minister so that the head of Parliament is now the spouse of the head of government does not sit well with the tradition that the Speaker must act independently of the government of the day. Madam Speaker, as others have pointed out, we on this side, and there are others on the outside, who thought that that was low. Firstly, Madam Speaker, the Speaker of the House served as Deputy Speaker of the House for 3 years, between September 2020 and November 2023. And during that time, she acted as Speaker on several occasions. So it was the Deputy Speaker who was elected to replace the outgoing Speaker, not simply the wife. The fact that in the statement or the speech you refer to her as the wife, not recognizing her 3-year tenure as Deputy Speaker and therefore the natural successor, is, in my view, disrespectful to the highest degree. Madam Speaker, women, like men, are individuals in their own right who ought not to be defined by their relationship with either men or, in the case of when you do this, you subordinate the professional role of the woman or the man. Wife, mother, sister are roles that women sometimes play, much like men are sometimes husbands, brothers, and fathers. But in a professional setting, it does not sit well with the tradition of respect within our society that has been that for you to refer to any female parliamentary colleague by her marital relationship with her husband. By all means, talk about the Speaker's decisions, criticize them if you must, but leave the wife alone. It was out of order, Madam Speaker, and the opposition leader can do better. It reminds me of when the member from East Portland, campaigning in her own right, was derogatorily referred to as the wife of Mr. Vaz, and she won't be anything but the wife of Minister Vaz. There's a trend. Of course she's the wife of Minister Vaz, but in the context of the campaign, she was the Jamaica Labour Party candidate for the seat. It would have been better had the opposition leader said the move to replace her with the Deputy Speaker of the House, who happens to be the wife of the Prime Minister, etc., etc., etc. But completely ignoring her position in this House, Madam Speaker, was absolutely reducing her to only one component, that of wife, was disrespectful, Madam Speaker, and should not be repeated.
That's Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark. He also pointed out that the opposition initially expressed support when Mrs. Holness was elected Speaker of the House in, I believe it was 2023?
Yes.
Dr. Clark also says Mr. Golding's recent disapproval shows that the opposition cannot be trusted.
The Deputy Speaker acted, as I said, many times as Speaker for 3 years. And never once, to the best of my knowledge, did any member rise to his or her feet to provide any objection on the account of a marital relationship with the Prime Minister. When the Deputy Speaker was nominated to fill the role of Speaker, her nomination was seconded by none other than the leader of opposition business, the member from East Kingston and Port Royal, Mr. Philip Paulwell, who rose to his feet and said, Madam Speaker, I beg to second the motion. The Speaker was then unanimously elected by both sides of the House with cheers and applause. Madam Speaker, the former leader of the opposition, the member from St. Andrew East Central. Now, just for people listening, after people listening don't know East Central, says Mr. Peter Phillips. A few sittings later, without invitation or solicitation, rose to his feet on his own accord and addressed the Speaker directly, looking at her and saying, a major impulse that brought me here today was to see you in your elevated position. Madam Speaker, this was greeted with spontaneous and rapturous applause by both sides of the aisle, including many on that side who applauded that remark. Madam Speaker, the opposition welcomed the promotion of the Deputy Speaker to Speaker and expressed no issues of principle. Principle is principle. Principle is not something that changes with the wind. And given that the leader of the government opposition business, his full-throttled endorsement of the Deputy Speaker's elevation. The opposition's leader's statement last week, Madam Speaker, publicly undermines and emasculates the member and sends an unmistakable message that we cannot trust what any of them over there says. Because at any time, the opposition leader is likely, at any day, any time, any place, to just flip-flop, to contradict, and to undermine. Now, look, the opposition leader has a disagreement with the Speaker's position on a specific matter. And I support his right to disagree on a specific matter. But rather than address that matter specifically, he raises an objection in principle to her appointment despite the opposition having supported that principle in the past. That, Madam Speaker, is what you call unprincipled. It is flip-flop, and it is not leadership that you can trust. And we find it over and over again, Madam Speaker. Even in the same speech, the presentation includes unprincipled positions. Having met, Madam Speaker, on another matter last year with a few opposition MPs who shall remain nameless on the principle of the salary reform for parliamentarians, I introduced the changes via statement in this House in May of 2023. The member from St. Andrews South Eastern, who is the opposition spokesman of finance, his name is Mr. Julian Robinson. He rose to his feet and he said, in the full view of cameras, publicly, the opposition takes no issue with what the minister has announced. Without the opposition support, the public support in this House, as demonstrated by the member from St. Andrews South Eastern, that adjustment for parliamentarians would not have happened, which is why I met with a group of them before, and they know that. And it is the failure, Madam Speaker, it is the failure of opposition and governments of the day in the past. There's a member here in this House who is visiting from a previous administration, and he can tell you that is the failure of opposition and government to agree in the past that stymied previous efforts on parliamentary compensation. Although the opposition member with finance responsibility got up and publicly gave support on behalf of the opposition to my statement outlining the details, days later, Madam Speaker, the opposition run by the opposition leader issues a statement that completely contradicted the support offered by the opposition finance spokesman, undermined him, emasculated him, Madam Speaker, and meant we cannot trust what he says unless Mark is present. Seemingly for political gain. He emasculates his own colleague who he appointed. That is unprincipled, Madam Speaker. That is flip-flop, and that is not leadership that you can trust. It sends, Madam Speaker, the unmistakable message that we cannot trust. We cannot trust what they say.
Well, Dr. Clark also says the PNP did not start Jamaica on the path to fiscal responsibility.
Hold on, you can't transition like that, my friend. You have to prepare them for it. So that was Dr. Clark speaking and coming to the defense of Juliet Holness in that row which sparked the government walkout last Tuesday and during the presentation by the opposition leader. Now, of course, there's been this back and forth between rival groups of party supporters about
the paternity.
Who is the father or mother? Who is the parent of, which party is the parent rather, of this fiscal responsibility and fiscal sustainability path that Jamaica has managed to navigate so very well? Dr. Clark today, Chevron, made an intervention. You did the rap, so I have to do the leading. He made an intervention today that, in his mind, seeks to put, or not even seeks to, does put to rest this argument about where paternity lies. He says the PNP did not start Jamaica on the path to fiscal responsibility that has helped to deliver the economic gains realized by the country over the past few years. Chevron Campbell did that story.
The finance minister sought to debunk what he says is the myth peddled by the PNP that the country's current economic stability was engineered under the Simpson-Miller administration that was in office between 2012 and 2016. According to Dr. Clark, that distinction belongs to the JLP administration led by Bruce Golding and Finance Minister Audley Shaw from 2007 to 2011. He says Prime Minister Golding had to contend with an over 900% increase in debt due to the reckless policies of the PNP administration, which he unseated from office.
There was a 952% increase in the debt accumulation during that period of time. That is unmistakable fact. Nothing they say can change that. Nothing. And then you look at the next period, Madam Speaker, which is the period April 2008 to March 2012. The debt accumulation dropped from 952% to 66%. Yeah? And then under the Portia Simpson administration, it dropped even further to 24%. And then under us, it has dropped even further to 6%, Madam Speaker, over 7 years.
He says Prime Minister Golding's attempt at fiscal reform only failed due to the lack of social will in the country. Dr. Clark says the Simpson-Miller administration was only able to solve the problem it created because the International Monetary Fund, IMF, forced them to be responsible.
PNP cannot claim to be fiscally responsible, as history will show that the PNP government has never been fiscally responsible when they have a choice. Madam Speaker, examine the record from 1972 to 1980, and examine the record from 1989 to 2007, when they had choice. Fiscal responsibility is not determined by when you have no choice and your hands are tied. Implementing fiscal responsible policies when you have no choice in the matter and your hands are tied is not a demonstration of fiscal responsibility.
He says the Holness administration since 2016 have voluntarily maintained the principle of fiscal stability.
Under this government, we have had choice. We graduated from an IMF program in 2019. We went through COVID on our own steam with homegrown policies, homegrown ideas. We displayed fiscal responsibility before the crisis, during the crisis, after the crisis, leading Jamaica to one of the fastest, most complete recoveries in the Western Hemisphere. We piloted Jamaica through the worst economic storms in our history, Madam Speaker, on our own. That is fiscal responsibility.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Yep, that's the rebuttal.
You know, I have to say that speaks to me. As someone who suffered from diabetes, I don't think I've ever said that on air, but there was a situation where I was nearly half blind. Blood sugar, I think I was at 16, 18, on the border of a diabetic coma. And the doctor looked at me and said, if you don't change, you're going to die. And it's under those circumstances that things had to be adjusted. And I'm now in diabetic remission. So when Dr. Clark points out to, quite rightly, that there's so many things that somebody can accomplish when you put a gun to their head, it's what they can maintain when that gun is removed, which is important.
Hear you on that, my friend. All right. Well, it's 6 o'clock time for us to hand over to the old man of broadcasting, Clifton Gladstone Hughes, who's out there at the AC Marriott Hotel in New Kingston. Cliff has been working like Trojan today. He was in Montego Bay at the Charles Gordon Market. He's now in New Kingston. He flew up on his special helicopter for this outside broadcast sponsored by the Jamaica Conch Cluster, achieving economic benefits through Marine Stewardship Council certification of the conch fishery of Jamaica. And Floyd Green, the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, among others, will be at the event. And we send you over now into Cliff's illustrious
George
hands.
Davis, I won't try to exploit your youthful exuberance.
What's that?
So they won't try to exploit your youthful exuberance.
Let me tell you. The matter at hand this evening, certainly what we heard in the House of Representatives this afternoon from the Finance Minister. Nigel Clark beat and teach this afternoon. And there were moments when I looked at the expression on the face of the opposition leader, you could see the obvious distress he was under. But he opened himself up for this by some of the sloppy work he did, especially on the issue of, for a third time, making the misleading point about income taxes or taxes being increased. That was a full toss he gave to the Finance Minister, who dispatched it, for a 6, And at the end of the budget debates this year, certainly this one will be remembered for a long time for several reasons. The abrupt ending of the opposition leader's presentation, the walking out of the Prime Minister and the government members, unprecedented, historic, yes, in the annals of Jamaican political history. Budget 24 will forever be etched in history as a result of that. The Prime Minister's presentation, when he answered the question about leading a government that is now being challenged to leverage macroeconomic stability for the goodwill of the majority of the people. I think he answered that question clearly. You noticed the reaction since then, last Thursday. Nobody questioned, yes, how good the Prime Minister's range of policy initiatives, yeah, were. Nobody questioned that, yeah. And of course, the closing presentation this afternoon by Nigel
Clark.
Clark.
It so we can move now.
You go away.
On air? Cliff, you heard that? I'm sorry. We were here listening to you, my friend. I didn't know we had a hot mic.
All right. Yes.
We're gone, Cliff. We're gone. Good evening.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Go and play some football. You need it.
Before you go, Mr. Clue, someone asked on YouTube, who won the budget debates? Who was the top speaker?
The government side won the debate. That is hardly in doubt. Yes. There were some moments when I thought it was going to be derailed. Yes. With that incident. But the presentation of the finance minister, the prime minister, and the weak presentation of the opposition spokesman on finance, I thought he was the weakest link on the opposition side. Well, the government clearly won the debate. There's no doubt about that. On substance, in terms of pushing back, fighting back, I think the government won the debate. Yes, no doubt about that. Yeah. The matter of the Speaker of the House, yes, I think she is at a critical moment in her leadership of the House. Yes, and she would have, I think, did the right thing today in making that decision to table those two reports on the Auditor General. And then I look forward to what will come of the discussions that she and the clerk of the House, yes, are having, because that's not a good look. The clerk is about to retire in a week or two, and for that letter to make its way into the public domain is not a good look on the Speaker. Yes, I think the Gleaner's headline this morning captures it well. A house in shambles. Yes, and that has got to be fixed. I don't know if it will be. Did I answer your question, Mr. Campbell?
Very much so.
Okay.
Another
Any
beat
other
and
question?
teach?
Where's the youngster? The youngster has fled.
No, the youngster, I thought I would be the youngster, but I'm assuming you're
Hold on. We call him youngster. We taking step with Mr. Hughes. I'm a good outside broadcaster. You work hard today. Good.
I will. All right. Take care of yourself. Well, we are coming to you from the AC Marriott Hotel because we are here for a very important development in the Jamaican economy. Yes? The Conch cluster of Jamaica. Conch. Yeah? A lot of people don't really know what is conch or eat conch, but it represents a significant development in terms of the diversification of the Jamaican economy. Yes? So we're going to be learning a lot more about conch this evening right here at the AC Marriott. Time for the break.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
7 minutes past 6.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
With the headlines at 6, I am George Davis. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Juliet Holness, has backed down from her previous position regarding the tabling of reports from the Auditor General's Department. During Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives, Mrs. Holness directed that 2 reports from the Auditor General be tabled. In November 2023, Mrs. Holness ruled that reports from the Auditor General regarding statutory bodies must first be sent to the Portfolio Minister before being tabled in the House. Despite the ruling, Auditor General Pamela Monroe Ellis continued to follow the original convention of sending the reports directly to Parliament. One such report was sent in December of 2023 and another in January this year. These reports were then sent back to the Auditor General last week. Mrs. Monroe Ellis on Monday then resubmitted the same reports, triggering a standoff with the House Speaker. It's a challenge Mrs. Holness has backed away from.
I have taken note of the varying different legal perspective, and I continue to hold the view that in law there continues to be a dissonance in the interpretation of how the reports on public bodies should be tabled. I have taken a further decision to today table the reports which are in question, and additionally seek to further resolve the issues as it relates to the appropriate mechanism to table said reports, and will include, in addition to continued consultation, having a meeting, a discussion with the Auditor General, hopefully later this week.
Meanwhile, Leader of Opposition Business in the House, Philip Paulwell, again called on Mrs. Holness to share the legal opinion of the Attorney General that informed her initial ruling.
You did say that you had received a legal opinion from the Attorney General's chambers. And, Madam Speaker, I think in light of everything and our various appeals to see that opinion, that you should provide us at the earliest opportunity, and we do believe that it should be today, with a sight of the opinion. And you did say that you would be having consultation with the Auditor General. We would like to be involved in that consultation as well.
Meanwhile, Mr. Paulwell called on Mrs. Holness to withdraw her letter accusing the clerk to the Houses of Parliament, Valerie Curtis, of dereliction of duty.
This matter is now a public matter. It occurred largely because of the email that was sent to all of us and with the letter. And Madam Speaker, I know that there might be discussions taking place, but I don't think the public would feel satisfied of your coming today, going through the process without saying something. We were really expecting that the letter would have been withdrawn today, Madam Speaker. And that is really our position.
Mrs. Holness refused, noting that the matter between herself and Ms. Curtis remains under discussion.
Thank you, members. I note your request as it relates to further steps to be had with the Auditor General. And on the matter of the clerk, I advise you, both from myself and the clerk, that we are in dialogue and wish to say nothing else at this time.
Juliet Holness, House Speaker. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark today blasted opposition leader Mark Golding over what he feels was his unprincipled attack on Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness. Dr. Clark used the opening segment of his closing budget presentation to chastise the opposition leader for what he says is a pattern of hypocrisy. Dr. Clark described Mr. Golding's comments about Mrs. Holness as one of the lowlights of recent parliamentary discourse.
Madam Speaker, when the Leader of the Opposition made his contribution to the budget debate, he included the words, "When the former Speaker was forced to resign as a result of the Integrity Commission investigation, the move to replace her with the wife of the Prime Minister, so that the head of Parliament is now the spouse of the head of government, does not sit well with the tradition that the Speaker must act independently of the government of the day." Madam Speaker, as others have pointed out, we on this side, and there are others on the outside, who thought that that was low. Not recognizing her 3-year tenure as Deputy Speaker, and therefore the natural successor, is, in my view, disrespectful to the highest degree.
The Finance Minister says Mr. Golding was sending the wrong message when he sought to reduce Juliet Holness to just being the wife of the Prime Minister. Dr. Clark went further, pointing to instances where Mr. Golding, through his words, has reduced the standing of even those who serve with him on the opposition benches, namely the spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson.
Although the opposition member with finance responsibility got up and publicly gave support on behalf of the opposition to my statement outlining the details, days later, Madam Speaker, the opposition of the opposition leader, meaning the opposition run by the opposition leader, issues a statement that completely contradicted the support offered by the opposition finance spokesman, undermined him, emasculated him, Madam Speaker, and meant we cannot trust what he says unless Mark is present.
Opposition Leader Dr. Nigel Clark. That's it for the headlines at 6. Up next, sports headlines.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home, and a special rate on home insurance. Let's help you put down your roots. Call 888-SAGICOR to apply for your Sagicor Bank mortgage. Conditions apply.
I've been hearing about this constitutional reform thing. You know anything about it?
Yes, constitutional reform is a chance for us to Jamaicanize the constitution.
But how?
Enough things changed since 1962 and we have matured as a nation. So modernizing the constitution will reflect our current societal values.
Oh, a constitution for Jamaicans, approved by Jamaicans.
Are you ready for the journey? Join us on the road to Republic. Think independence, think Republic. A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
Welcome back. And as you heard, we're coming to you from the AC Marriott Hotel in New Kingston this evening. It's all about achieving economic benefits through Marine Stewardship Council and certification of the Conch, fishery here in Jamaica. And it's a rather interesting new innovation, by key stakeholders in the agriculture and the fisheries sector. And they have been trying to get Jamaica be more competitive in the fishing of conch. And it's a multi-sectoral approach they've adopted with the help of a number of stakeholders, including the Government of Canada, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank, whose representative is about to address the gathering. Here he is.
Floyd Green, British High Commissioner to Jamaica and the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, Her Excellency Ms. Judith Slater, and members of the Development Corp, Caril Aitchison, Government of Canada, Ms. Wan Yuli of Chinese Embassy, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Mr. Dermot Spence, Regional Director for Marine Stewardship Council, Ms. Erica Feller, and especially invited guest. Good evening. Let me start with a personal note here, because I come from a little country in the south of America, that mostly we eat beef, So I learned about conch here when I started living in Jamaica. So for me, this is also a journey of learning other cultures and other industries. On behalf of the Inter-American Development Bank, in support of the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility, I would like to congratulate the Jamaica Conch Cluster on this big achievement of getting the Marine Stewardship Council certification. We are proud to stand with the Jamaica Conch Cluster as an implementation partner. In 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, the Compete Caribbean launched a Blue Economy Cluster call, seeking innovative cluster operating within the Caribbean Blue Economy. The Jamaica Conch Cluster project was selected from over 20 applicants around the region and awarded a technical assistance grant of $400,000 US. The certification was financed under this project and will go on to support the development of value addition productions. As such, the project seeks to assist in the diversification of market for Jamaican conch, the exploration and development of new value addition products, and strengthen governance and coordination framework to support the industry. What makes this achievement even more remarkable is that Jamaica Industrial Conch Fishery has become the first Marine Stewardship Council certified fishery in Jamaica. Moreover, Jamaica now has the first internationally recognized MSC certified conch fishery globally. This achievement is testament to the level of effort that has been put in not only by the member of the cluster, but also by the government of Jamaica and all other industry stakeholders. By your presence here, we collectively signal a commitment to continue to ensure global environmental and sustainability standards are maintained throughout the fishery. Before I finish, I would like also to acknowledge the presence of important partners and donors of the Compete Caribbean Facility, the United Kingdom Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, and the Government of Canada. We're extremely grateful for your commitment to the financing and implementation of Compete Caribbean. This has been a long and fruitful partnership since 2010, when we signed and launched the program right here in Jamaica. The IDB extends its warmest wishes to the Jamaica Conch Cluster, continued success, and remains committed to supporting the cluster on its path forward, sustainability and prosperity. Thank you.
It's the IDB representative here, Mr. Escondio Landio. Yes, the IDB representative. And the master of ceremony for the evening is Leonard Green. And you heard from the IDB representative here. It's a major milestone. Jamaica, the first country in the world to have a certified conch stewardship council in the world, yes, which means big bucks for Jamaica, yes, and of course conch, and they talk it about the queen conch, yeah, is a largely gastropod mollusk whose meat is highly sought after, making it one of the most valuable species in the Caribbean and the Florida Keys in the United States. People from those regions and their diaspora communities worldwide dominate the consumption and use of queen conch food and their non-food products. Okay? Here's a representative of the government of Canada.
Capture fishery. This certification is significant as it sets Jamaica apart. And I heard PS mention that about the value added and the opportunities for marketing. But let me also echo the sentiments of congratulation on this achievement. More importantly, I am pleased to see this signal of a commitment of key stakeholders to greater environmental stewardship in Jamaica's queen conch fishery. I also echo the sentiment that this milestone is the result of a collaborative effort and a steadfast commitment of numerous stakeholders represented in this room. I also had the opportunity when I came in to interact with some of the technical representatives who I know would have driven this process from the IDB as well as from the other stakeholders as well as the fishers. Let me acknowledge also the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining and the agencies that support this initiative. The Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunication and Transport, and the Maritime Authority of Jamaica. Your collective efforts have played a vital role in achieving this recognition. Canada's support for initiatives like the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility that works in conjunction with our international development partners and Inter-American Development Bank underscores our commitment to fostering sustainable growth and employment opportunities through private sector development and innovation. The Compete Caribbean exemplifies how CARICOM member states, regional institutions, and innovative firms have been collaborating with Canada through our regional development program on projects to combat the impact of climate change while enhancing marine and coastal ecosystem biodiversity management. Activities such as those that are undertaken by the Blue Economy Cluster, CALL, that Lorenzo mentioned, provided technical assistance to the Jamaica Conch cluster that is now supporting this improved, strengthened governance and coordination framework. The accomplishments also showcase how prioritized intervention in food security and ecological resilience can be developed effectively through combined public and private sector engagement. As we look into the future, Canada reaffirms its dedication to enhancing the resilience of the Caribbean region through both adaptation and mitigation efforts. It also advances gender as well as economic inequalities. Our unwavering commitment to environmental sustainability and climate action remains at the forefront of our agenda as we strive for a more peaceful, inclusive, and prosperous world. As I close, I again express my sincere gratitude to all the partners represented in this room and wish you best wishes on the receipt of this certification and the success of the Jamaica Conch cluster and the wider conch fishery. Thank you.
That is Senior International Assistance Officer representing Canada, Carol Aitchison. Yes, bringing greetings on behalf of the people and government of Canada on this major milestone being observed here this evening, Jamaica becoming the first country to be globally certified as having a Conch Stewardship, certified Conch Stewardship Council. And next we're going to hear from the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office from the United Kingdom. Yes, High Commissioner Judith Slater.
It's absolutely vital for driving inclusive economic growth in Jamaica and across the Caribbean region. It's therefore really fantastic that so far Compete has directly supported 1,482 Caribbean firms. And it's also fantastic that of those, 46% are owned by women. And also that Compete has been able to create over 2,700 additional jobs, most of which are here in Jamaica. The Compete programme is part of our larger economic umbrella programme, the Caribbean Economic Development Programme, or CEDP, and that supports inclusive economic growth across the Caribbean, and it's worth £20 million. But we're here today because of the Compete programme delivered by the IDB and for its vital support provided to the Jamaica Conch cluster. And I'd really like to congratulate the Pedro Bank Jamaica Queen Conch Industrial Dive Fishery for being the first conch wild fishery capture in the world to receive MSC certification. Thus, it will be the world coming to Jamaica to learn how to do this in a way that supports business and at the same time is sustainable for the environment and for our fish populations. So this is a really massive achievement, I think one we can all be really, really proud of. And it's also a first for me because Lorenzo was talking about coming from Uruguay. I come from the UK, but I can honestly say this is the first time speech that talks about conch. So I'm very delighted to do so, and I really hope this won't be the last time I do this, because I think this is going to go from strength to strength. We know that the blue economy is a key part of future growth for Jamaica and for other Caribbean small island developing states, and we want to see more innovation in this sector, at the same time as more advancements around climate, environment and sustainability, to make sure that future generations can also benefit from this sector. And we also know that trade is a key driver of economic growth, which can trigger positive changes in a country's economy. And I wanted to just take this opportunity to highlight the UK CARIFORUM Economic Partnership Agreement, or EPA, which we've signed to ensure that Jamaican companies can take full advantage of the opportunities that are out there. It's the most comprehensive trade agreement that we have with developing countries, and it allows exporters from Jamaica and across the Caribbean to export to the UK duty-free, quota-free, providing a significant leg up on competitors. So I hope that your conch industry now, with its MSc certification, will be able to find some new opportunities in the UK. So once again, thank you very much indeed to Compete Caribbean and the Jamaican government, specifically the Ministry for Fishing, Agriculture and Mining and its agencies, and thank you to all the members of the Jamaica Queen Conch Cluster for making tonight a reality. And we hope to be celebrating many more industries for MSc certification as we go forward. Thank you very much.
The UK High Commissioner to Jamaica, Judith Slater. And if you're just joining us, it's 28 minutes after 6 o'clock. We're talking all conch this evening, yes, marking a milestone for Jamaica, becoming the first country in the world to have a globally certified conch stewardship council. Yes, that means, as we'll hear later, issues to do with standards, governance, and sustainable fishing of queen conch. Yes, and the function here this evening, the keynote speaker, the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Floyd Green. We'll be hearing from Mr. Green a little later. The Master of Ceremony is Leonard Green.
And you have supported Jamaica and farmers and our agriculture and fisheries sector in many ways. You know, we have a major project being executed down in St. Elizabeth, and we are so proud of that project and the support that has been given by your government. So please give them all another round of applause. Yes, lots of support all around. Now, it's always a joy to listen to the accolades of the hard work and to recognize that, you know, good work does pay off. Now, we will now take some greetings from the Marine Stewardship Council. We really want to hear from them, which is to be so ably presented by their regional director, Miss Erica Fellow. Please give her a bountiful round of applause as she comes in order to deliver her greetings.
Thank you for that introduction. Wow, I hope I live up to it. Minister Green, our excellent MC, and I am so honored to be part of such a distinguished panel. I'm really honored to be here with you all today to congratulate the Jamaica Conch Cluster, say that 3 times fast, for achieving Marine Stewardship Council certification for the Pajur Bank fishery. As has been pointed out, this is the first conch fishery in the world and the first fishery in Jamaica to receive MSc certification. And on behalf of everyone at MSc, we applaud your leadership and this significant accomplishment. I have the sense that I am in the room full of fishery and seafood enthusiasts, so I know you'll appreciate when I need to tell you about what these guys have accomplished. The MSc standard is a high bar, and it is comprehensive. They undertook a 10-month assessment with the independent auditor, MRAG Americas. And MRAG evaluated the fishery against 3 fundamental principles. They verified that the stock of conch that is being fished on is being managed at healthy and sustainable levels. They evaluated the impact of the fishery on the surrounding environment, the ways they fish, the other animals that are in the environment. And they looked at the management. They looked at what government does, and is the fishery following all of the rules, and does it have the right tools in place? And the fishery passed on all three of those principles of our standard. The fishery's adherence to these principles will help safeguard the future of queen conch populations and the livelihoods that depend on it. And this certification really signifies it's more than just a stamp of approval. Conch are an important species for fishermen and communities that rely on a healthy resource, and we know that conch are an iconic species for Jamaica, but also for the entire Caribbean region. This certification celebrates the leadership and stewardship demonstrated by the Conch cluster, and really an extraordinary collaboration among all of the partners who were involved in this and among the industry locally here in Jamaica. You're to be congratulated on that. Your support and hard work are the reason we're here. Moreover, MSC certification represents being part of a global movement and a trusted community of ocean stewards. The Jamaica conch fishery joins more than 550 fisheries in 66 countries around the world that have met the MSC fisheries standard. Certification offers a gateway to new opportunities and avenues for growth and prosperity, and it sounds like a couple of those doors are open already, which is great. And by aligning yourselves with an internationally recognized sustainability standard, you help build the trust and confidence of buyers, retailers, and consumers around the world. And we really look forward, on behalf of everybody on my team at MSC, we really look forward to further developing our partnership, working to enhance conch's market competitiveness in all the ways that Jamaica's commitment to sustainability can benefit the resource and, importantly, the people who rely on it. Lastly, we have to recognize and applaud the collaborative effort and support of all of those involved in making this milestone a reality. This is a journey that doesn't start with commencing an assessment. The work starts before that. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility for their invaluable support and guidance through this journey. Their commitment to promoting economic growth, innovation, and sustainability in the Caribbean region has been instrumental in empowering fisheries like the Jamaica conch fishery to thrive and succeed. Congratulations to the members of the Jamaica Conch Cluster for this notable milestone and for your exemplary leadership, dedication, and passion in championing sustainable fishing. We at MSC are so proud to celebrate with you. Thank you.
Erica Feller, the Regional Director of the Marine Stewardship Council, the MSC.
There for you. You can clap heartily, lose some energy, because we're going to give you some conch when we are through. All right, so at this point in time, we are just teeing down to get to the main speaker. But before we do, we want to present to you two video presentations. One is from our partners, and one is going to chronicle the journey towards the Marine Stewardship Certification. So we're going to start with one from MRAG, and then we are going to proceed with the other one that shows us the journey. So please join us in viewing the video presentation.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin Wilson and I am the Senior Manager for the Fisheries Certification Division at MRAG Americas. And I'm also a team member on this full assessment of the Jamaica conch fishery against the Marine Stewardship Council Standard for Sustainability. Thank you very much for the invite to this celebration. Unfortunately, I am stuck in rainy Seattle and couldn't attend in person. But I did just want to send a quick message just to congratulate you on all of your hard work and just really a successful certification process. Meeting the requirements of the MSC Standard for Sustainability is no easy task. Whether or not it's getting recent stock assessments, updating your data collection methods, proper licensing, enforcement, all of that is required, evaluated, and it has been scrutinized over the course of this last year in terms of your fishery and whether or not your fishery does indeed meet the requirements of the MSC standard. congratulations. Not only did you achieve MSC certification, but your fishery is unique in the respect of the MSC in terms of no other conch species or fisheries like yours has been certified, and very few fisheries in the Caribbean region have achieved MSC certification to date. In terms of MRAG America's role with this fishery, we started our work back in March of 2023. The requirements begin with a lot of data collection, preliminary writing, desk review, if you will, of all of the information that is available online for the fishery to evaluate whether it does indeed meet the requirements. Throughout the process and the requirements, we have been met with a lot of stakeholder interest, participation, and cooperation from various groups involved with this fishery. In July of 2023, the assessment team was lucky enough to visit beautiful Kingston, Jamaica, and the site visit there took place in several different facilities. We talked with managers at the National Fisheries Authority. We talked with members of the Jamaica Conch Cluster, processors, fishers, stakeholders who are just involved with the conch resource because of their community. But I can say it was invaluable as far as the knowledge we gained and the understanding that we were really just able to achieve just from seeing the fishery and the daily operations of it. On behalf of MRAG Americas, I would just like to offer our sincere thanks to all of those people who were involved with that work, who provided the endless data requests and continued to follow up and just kept the certification process going. Again, there's a lot of steps in the MSC requirements and subsequent draft reports and follow-ups and peer review. And again, it was a lot, and we couldn't have done that without your help. So thank you again for all who were involved. And thank you so much for the people who hosted us, showed us your kindness. Kingston is truly a special place, and we were very grateful to be able to see that fishery. Congratulations, you all. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, as I know that there is a celebration that is going to happen. I hope it is an event to remember. And again, we wish we could be there in person, but hopefully someone can have a red stripe for me. And cheers to all of your great achievements. And on behalf of MRAG Americas, again, we look forward to our continued participation with you all, our future partnerships, and returning to beautiful Jamaica sooner than later, hopefully, to see you all in person. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy.
A round of applause, MRAG America. Can we have the video now that speaks to the journey?
As the Executive Director of the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility, I want to welcome you to this very special celebration event that celebrates obtaining Marine Stewardship Council certification for the Jamaica Conch Industrial Dive Fishery. This is the first time that a conch fishery in the world has obtained this certification, and it's a very big deal.
In the early days, when we started out in the conch operation in Jamaica, it was somewhat rough in terms of the licensing. It was a kind of free-for-all system until we discovered that we wanted to send conch to the European market. Then we had to get an EU certification.
Research has shown that North American consumers are more willing to pay premium prices for sustainable products. And as much as 48% of these consumers are willing to pay more for seafood from a certified fishery such as MSC certified fisheries.
The MSC certification really came out of transforming the industry into first world standards, coming on the back of some of the worst years in the actual fishery itself in Jamaica. We wanted to elevate Jamaica's product and also our standards here in Jamaica to ensure that we have the best quality product that is acceptable in all markets.
The MSC certification actually validates the sustainability of the Jamaican conch fishery. Among North American seafood consumers, sustainably sourced or environmentally friendly seafood is ranked as the 6th most important driver for purchase, and 58% agree that consumption of sustainable seafood is necessary to protect the ocean.
We have to the term big up B&D trawling, and Ricky Francis, my company and his company, always keep together in terms of what we are doing. So even when we were doing the pre-assessment in the early days, he knew about it too. And we didn't get through because we didn't have the funds at the time. And he applied to Compete Caribbean and got the go-ahead to form the cluster. And then the cluster was formed with 4 of us to move forward.
I was contracted by Compete Caribbean as the cluster facilitator to assist the Jamaica Conch cluster in producing its cluster development plan.
It was a competition, with other countries in the Caribbean who were thinking of different cluster. We won it in Jamaica, and therefore they decided with IDB to give us the chance.
So the primary output of my work was the Jamaica Conch cluster development plan for consideration by Compete Caribbean for funding. In terms of the cluster development plan's alignment to the project, recall that the cluster development plan is the actual blueprint for the overall project. And securing MSC certification for the industrial queen conch fishery is just one component of the project.
Maybe 30 years ago, we had the first challenge in the seafood industry, which was to attain CITES certification. So getting the MSC certification was somewhat of the same route, where we had to provide certain information. And really where I played my part was to provide the background information and the historical data, and just being a team member in this process, because at the end of the day, sustainability in this business is key.
The cluster operation found that conch is leaving from the United States into China in cans and other products in cans, while we were just doing the raw material and sending it into these countries. So we are now going to develop a system now among ourselves now where we can do our total value added.
The project aligns very well with our goals in that it further supports a collaborative approach the government and private sector have taken in managing the conch fishery, while ensuring that the sustainable potential for higher income for stakeholders is met through the international trade in conch.
One of the pivotal reasons why MSC certification is critical is because it is one of the pivotal pillars for the economic viability of the conch sector. Why? Because the amount of reserves for conch that exist in Jamaica will not exceed a certain amount. It will never exceed 450 metric tons. Never. So when you're talking about long-term projection and business economic viability, you have to look at other ways to diversify your market and to make additional income.
We rainforests, we are industrial fishers. We work in collaboration with artisan fishermen. Conch is heavily regulated in Jamaica. It's something that has worked for us. Our conch is located in some of the pristine waters of the world, Jamaica, and that sells itself to a lot of people wanting our products.
We have a very high standard, and it costs a lot of money to produce 1 pound of conch in Jamaica. And all of the other markets that exist, the price point is too low to make it economically viable. So you need to have another mechanism, and of course the MSC certification is enhancing the brand recognition and will allow increased prices for the product, especially among those environmentally conscious consumers.
We are a stakeholder in a big way. We export all of our products to the EU. We are proud of our customers, are very happy with our product.
A few years back, the industry was devastated. We had a shutdown for 2 years, and then after that came COVID. So we had a really difficult time in the industry, and we want to make sure that that never happens again. And part of that is why we push to have this third-party accreditation for sustainability to ensure that this resource lasts forevermore and we don't have to face that devastation ever again by having the industry shut down.
In collaboration with the NFA, we have several key partners. The Veterinary Services Division of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries ensures food safety, both local and for export. Then we have the National Environment and Planning Agency, who addresses the concerns for CITES, which is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. So in other words, they ensure that whatever is exported from Jamaica is not detrimental to the resources. And also not forgetting our important compliance partners or enforcement partners, that is the Marine Police and the Coast Guard and the Customs Agency, who through their activities ensure that our officials stick to the regulations regarding the exploitation of conch.
You know, sometimes we are competitors in our own right, but you know, for the greater good of the fishery, and we keep talking about this buzzword about sustainability. And if we're going to be having generations enjoy this product and be proud of something, then we have to start working together and put the egos aside. Yes, we're business people and we're competitors, but at the end of the day, I think what is important is that we work at the betterment of the industry and the fishery. MSC means a lot, right? It's a big deal.
Nothing happens without teamwork, and it's not an individual industry. It's an industry that benefits thousands and thousands of people. It's keeping our eye on the ball, because very soon, if you're not part of a blue economy, then nobody will recognize your fishery. And the cluster came together as individual companies, individual players, and we're very proud of the accomplishment of getting the MSC certification.
In my perspective, it is imperative that the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining prioritizes the creation of fisheries and aquaculture clusters, recognizing that the strategy extends beyond industrial fishers.
Compete Caribbean is a program that is focused on sustainable economic growth in the Caribbean region. And we are so proud about the achievements of this project with our partners, the Jamaica Conch Cluster.
It is an interesting industry, and no 2 days are the same, no 2 weeks are the same, and it is just different and exciting, but you have to love dirty work. And it's not the regular 9 to 5. It's something that you work on 24 hours a day, every day of the week.
Fish for today, fish for tomorrow. And what that does is embodies the principle of sustainable fisheries. So similar to what we have done for our conch fishery, by demonstrating that it is sustainable, if we do that for other fisheries, it will mean for all of us, the government agencies and our stakeholders, that we should be able to achieve more income, greater economic benefits, greater social benefits for all involved.
I'm not saying that there are not challenges, but I think this is a step in the right direction. It's going to bring more people to the table, right? Start looking at the fish in a more responsible way. We contract a lot of artisans who dive our product, right, where we're able to export our product and to sell and enjoy this wonderful product. And so, you know, we're looking forward to more to come. The certification is just the front of it. There are a lot more things to be built out at the back end. And we're committed to working in partnerships with other stakeholders who are in the business and by extension the regulators, which is they're going to have to play a very important role. Because yes, we still have some challenges that we're going, but together we can overcome.
B&D Trawling, with over 40 years of experience in the industry, we have faced significant challenges and changes in the industry. We are looking forward to implementing this project, and B&D Trawling is putting its full support behind the industry.
Back in 2015, we took a bold step to pursue the MSC certification. Now, as a founding cluster member, we are excited to play a key role in its success and contribute to the future of sustainable fishing practice.
As a female proprietor in a traditionally male-dominated industry, I've faced my share of challenges, but through determination and hard work, I've managed to navigate these obstacles and establish myself as a successful business owner.
Though Rainforest wasn't initially involved, our motivation to join was driven by the project's transformative potential. Through collaboration with stakeholders, we envision long-term positive outcomes and hope to inspire others to consider similar initiatives.
As a key member of the project steering committee, our objectives are clear: to align with broader goals, support collaborative efforts, and convey the importance of initiatives like this for the fishing industry's future.
And it is important and critical to recognize that Jamaica is not only the first conch industry to have MSC certification. Jamaica is the only country in this entire world with a conch fishery that has MSC certification. And Jamaica, the industry members, the government of Jamaica should be applauded for that achievement. And of course, we can't forget the support from IDB and Compete Caribbean.
With our donors, the Inter-American Development Bank, the United Kingdom's Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Government of Canada, we empower communities for sustainable growth. So join me in really celebrating this achievement today as we work together for a brighter future for the Caribbean people.
Wow, that was indeed a lovely documentary, or documentation of the journey. So even though persons asked me to chair a function of celebration, I didn't know we were having movies. That was quite a full-length one. But it aptly captures how proud and how very, very happy we are with the development as to where we are. But you see all those nice faces that you're seeing, people talking? Look at this. This board here. Compete Caribbean, IDB, UK Aid, Caribbean Development Bank in partnership with Canada. Conch Cluster of Jamaica. These are the persons from these companies who were speaking a while ago. B&D Trawling, Tonrick Seafoods, Cole Seafood and more. They weren't speaking, but they're a member of the cluster. Rainforest spoke. Water Wheel is a member. Ocean Bay is a member. Seafood Inc., Newport Fish and Meats, that young lady, am I correct? Clarendon Seafood, Mr. Mohammed, somewhere around the back there. Brandmar Investments Limited, Knights Commodity and Trading Company. All companies that have put a lot of effort into where we are this afternoon. Please give them a round of applause. And they are supported by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries through the National Fisheries Authority, which is our agency that seeks to support the sector. And of course, we have our partnership. Mr. Conch is around the back there. He spoke, a former director of fisheries who came on as a consultant and did tremendous work to make this happen. Supported by CITES, supported by NEPA. And so I want you to give everybody who have made this possible a resounding round of applause. At this point in time, we are about to hear from our keynote speaker. I make no mistake when I say that the Honorable Floyd O'Brien Green is a very extraordinary young man. And the fact that he was at the Ministry of Agriculture, and this is his second stint, speaks to his dedication and commitment to this particular sector. Everybody understands, everybody knows it. There was no question as to where he is to be placed. And that is why he has been working his green way. He's a man of the soil, has been in agriculture for some time. And with his return, he has brought to the fore the new face of food. He's the youngest agriculture minister appointed in this country. Please put your hands together and make welcome our very own hard-working minister, the Honorable Floyd Green, to deliver the main address.
Thank you very much to our Master of Ceremonies, who is our Permanent Secretary of the Ministry. And I think you should give our Permanent Secretary a big round of applause. I always tell him that this is part of his calling to do things of this nature. Of course, our High Commissioner, our British High Commissioner, our Economic Commercial Officer from the Chinese Embassy, our partners from the IDB, from the Government of Canada, from the MSC, other special invited guests, members from the Ministry, from the NFA, our partners in the fisheries sector, members of the media. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Today is a good day. Today is an exceptional day for our fisheries sector. And again, is another wonderful Jamaican story. Now, like all great Jamaican stories, it ends with us being the best in the world. And in our conch fisheries industry, we are the first and only conch wild fishery capture in the world to be MSC certified. That deserves a big, big round of applause. But that is normally where the Jamaican story ends, with us being the best and with us being the first. But it normally goes through a process. And the process starts with a vision that we ultimately have, that if we put our minds to it, we can be the best in the world. And for our fisheries sector, the government of Jamaica has had a vision outlined in our Vision 2030 strategic goals, which aligns us with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 14, which focuses on life underwater, that ensures that we sustainably use our ocean, seas, and marine resources. That is a vision of the government. Looking at our fisheries sector and its importance and ensuring that we transition the space to one based on sustainability. But if the government was the only entity that had that vision, then we would not be here today. It needed the participants in the sector to buy into that vision and to lead the charge. So today is really a celebration of our conch industry and those players. And I want us to give them a big round of applause. Again, like any great Jamaican story, you have to have the vision, but every Jamaican success story is a story of resilience. And I can tell you, above all things, the fact that we're here today is a story of resilience. I came to the Ministry of Agriculture. At the time, it was the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture, Fisheries. And at that time, we were meeting non-stop because the conch industry had been closed. This was in 2019. It was a very, very difficult time. Because when we speak about the conch industry, we may not recognize that at least 2,000 persons, and indirectly about 7,000 persons, are directly connected to this commercial fisheries sector. And when you think about the average family size of 5 people, when we close the conch industry, thousands of Jamaicans were out of work literally. And a number of our companies were on the brink of closure. I had the opportunity under very trying circumstances as minister this time to reopen the conch industry. And PS, I was looking at my statement to Parliament at that time, and the world, you know, at that time we were doing virtual. Everything was virtual. And I made the point that we were reopening the conch sector. We were doing so with a different mindset, and a mindset to focus on sustainability, so that we will never be in the position where we were when we had to close down our conch sector. And as such, the players in the industry came together, formed themselves into a cluster, put the egos aside, the competition aside, and focused on the bigger picture. And that is why we're here today. It's a story of coming from a space where the industry was closed to now being able to say that we're the only conch industry in the world that has MSc certification. What a resilient people we are. But like any great Jamaican story, you have vision, you have resilience, but you do need partnership. And we couldn't have made it here without our partners. Our partners from the IDB, our partners from the UK, Canada, the CDB, and some internal partners. And I want to single out our former head of the Fisheries Division, Sir Conch, and we have to give Mr. Conch a big round of applause. A man who dedicated all of his life to serving not just the people of Jamaica, but specifically the fisheries sector. And through that partnership and working internally with the National Fisheries Authority, with our Veterinary Services Division, with agencies like NEPA, our JDF Coast Guard, our Marine Police, the Jamaica Customs Agency, and we have to call them out because it really took all hands on deck to bring us to where we are. And again, it wasn't a short journey. We speak about the end of the journey, but as you heard from Sydney in the video, from 2013, there were visions about having a certification of this nature. 2017, we had a wonderful presentation from CITES and somebody who came from the United Kingdom. But I think the catalyst was recognizing that we had to do things differently. And as such, now we're here with the Marine Stewards Council certification, which does say that our conch stock is being fished sustainably and has a low likelihood of recruitment overfishing. Our certification also says that we have a robust harvest strategy and control rules in place to ensure sustainability. Our certification also says that we have a conch fisheries that has a low impact on our ecosystem at the PJ Bank, and that we have effective management systems in place to embrace participatory fisheries management in its approach. So clearly it means that Jamaica is best in the world. Now that Jamaica deserves a big round of applause. But I think Roderick said it best. This is just the start. This is not the end. And we celebrate this certification, but we have to continue moving forward. And moving forward will take the vision, it will take the resilience, it will take the partnership. We have to continue to work together to strengthen our fight against illegal, unreported, and unregulated fisheries. When our conch sector closed, it was largely because our conch stock was being stolen by those who came into our waters. The international community has to work with us to ensure that when conch is traded, it can be traced. We can say that our conch can be traced and can be sustainably traced. And we need our international partners to tighten their systems around monitoring to ensure that fisheries, illegal, unreported, unregulated fisheries, that we can truly put an end to it. And we've done a lot of work now with the Blue Justice Initiative. Jamaica is the Caribbean hub for Blue Justice, and we're looking for further partnership in that regard. Additionally, we have to continue to work with our small artisanal fishers as they embrace sustainability, to help them retool, to help them to be able to always choose sustainable practices, to provide them with the support that they need to continue to profit from the fisheries sector. At the ministry, we have put in place our fisheries incentive program, something that I will speak more to in my sectoral presentation. But again, how can we work together as partners to ensure that our artisanal fishers are always front of mind as we reform our fisheries sector? Additionally, clearly, if we've done it for Conch, we can do it for other areas. So why should we stop here? Why should we not look to our robust lobster sector and how we can embrace the principles of sustainability and the principles of certification? Clearly, the players have already showed you that they're willing to work together. We already have the blueprint in relation to the clustering approach, and we already have partners who work well together. So I think it's an opportunity for the IDB, UK, CDB, Canada, to join with us. Let's not stop here. Join with us to look at other areas that clearly funding support can be provided so that we continue on this journey for certification. And for our conch fisheries, we will continue the journey. You would have heard it. Value addition, new markets, ensuring that the best conch in the world, the only conch in the world that's sustainably harvested by way of certification, will make its way across the length and breadth of the earth. So today is a great day. It's a great day for me personally because I have been able to see this process through. And oftentimes in the political journey, you might be able to start, but you're not able to finish. So having reached here, I'm outlining that there's still more to be done. So I expect to be here to see the rest of it through as well. But really why it's a great day is because the work that we're doing here today will last us for generations to come. And any work that ensures that the generations that come after us do better than us is good work. So I am a happy man. And I want to end by again congratulating our conch cluster for all the work they put into bringing us here today. Thank you.
Agriculture Minister Floyd Green giving the keynote address and the history, the context to why we are here this evening, how we got here. Yes? So we're going to take a break and come back with more.
Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy, bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Don't stop at just a one slice, please. No other bun, perfect for me. Yummy. For real Jamaican flavor and quality for sure this Easter. Make yummy the bun to your cheese. Yummy. Give me yummy, yummy. Give me yummy. For the Easter, yummy bun zeta. Yummy for me family, yummy for me sir. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Yummy. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Best bun. Give me yummy.
You have dreams and goals for the future. You want to make an impact. The UWI Mona, the #1 ranked university in the Caribbean, will help you reach your full potential. Our students have gone on to make their mark in all areas, locally and globally. Industry leaders, heads of state, and Rhodes Scholars all got their start with us. Legacies are made at the UWI Mona. Start building yours. Apply by March 31st at mona.uwi.edu/apply.
Women of Action
action, arise! It is time to arise into your greatness. Join us on Saturday, March 30 at the Summit House, formerly Knutsford Court Hotel, for the inaugural staging of the Women of Action Arise 2024 conference. Prepare to be uplifted as you make your way to the summit at 16 Chelsea Avenue in Kingston. Our doors open at 8:30 a.m. and admission is free. Men, come and support the women. Come out and hear Reverend Mary Wildish, Brother Loxley Smith, and others. Women of Action Arise. Powered by HR Outsourcing Solutions, QMEX Wealth Management, Tony's Toys Automotive Center, and Shekinah Trading. Women of Action Arise. Saturday, March 30, 2024.
Whether it's a heartfelt eulogy, an inspiring tribute, or a remembrance, place your ads in the Life Tribute section of the Jamaica Observer to remember the extraordinary individuals who have left their mark on this world. The Life Tribute section allows you to share stories, commemorate your loved ones, and keep their memory alive. Find solace in the power of remembrance. Together, we can keep their spirit alive. Book with the Jamaica Observer today. Contact 876-936-9504 for more details.
When someone is on top of things, it shows. On top of the day, on top of the game, on top of the world. And no other card puts you in charge like your new VM Visa credit card. Every click, insert, tap, or swipe solves a problem, sweetens a moment, and unlocks rewards. So what puts you in control of purchases, payments, and a global platform of perks? This card can. Get your VM Visa Gold or Visa Platinum credit card today. For more information, visit myvmgroup.com or call us at 876-754-8627.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is revolutionizing your clearance experience as our contactless clearance process becomes mandatory on April 2, 2024. This process will facilitate the clearance of all non-commercial personal shipments at our seaports with a CIF value of less than $5,000 being inspected by customs without you or your agent present. You're encouraged to make your payments using our customs mobile app, JA Customs Connect. Fees payable to your shipping agent and warehouse operator remain applicable. For further information, contact your freight forwarder or email contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or call 876-922-5140 The JCA's contactless clearance process is convenient, efficient, and secure. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Welcome back. So with the formalities basically over, we're going to dig deeper now into this milestone. Yes, this milestone for the Jamaican conch fishery. And one of the leading stakeholders in this, he played a lead role. In fact, he's regarded as a cluster lead, because the Jamaica conch cluster now, and he's regarded as a lead. Roderick Francis, good evening.
Good evening, Sir Hughes. Thank you for having me on.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
This must be a watershed moment for all of you in the conch industry, in particular your business, B&D Trawling.
It certainly is. We have been working at this for quite some time.
How many years now?
Well, actually, our initially started with a pre-assessment from 2015 that was led by one of our stakeholders, Tonrick Enterprises. And on the back of that, we really pushed hard, and I really have to thank the IDB and Compete Caribbean and the UK aid to really back this project with the US 400,000 financing to achieve it.
Yeah, but 2015, just under 9-10 years ago, but the roots of this industry, this sector, were laid long before then.
Yeah, certainly. So, my dad, Bonnie Francis,
your late dad.
My late dad, he actually founded the industry. So he was the first person to actually fish conch in Jamaica and export it and make it into an industry to what it is now. So I think from where he is right now, he's smiling.
He must be smiling.
I think so.
Yes, and I saw your mom earlier here, Yes, and for the Francis family, this is a watershed moment. And
It is, and just segue a bit.
yes,
I would just like to say congratulations to my mom. Also, she was honored by the Caribbean Women for Trade
yes,
today. So it's a very good day all over for us.
yes.
Yes.
And you came into the business.
Yeah, I came into the business back in about 2015. Came back from college and worked in the shipping industry for a year. And, my dad convinced me to come in and help
Yes.
him with his business, and the rest is history.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
And the process, we were told, it's been quite an involved process to
Yeah.
get you here. And talk to me now about the potential of this industry for Jamaica.
Yes, well, we were shut down for 2 years in about 2018. And, the industry was, I would say, devastated at that point in time because, there are a lot of people who depend on this industry. Our company alone, we employ over 200 people, a lot of them from the inner city. And the fishers, we use over 200, artisanal fishers, and you can imagine that,
What you call an artisan fisher?
well, we would look at them as a regular fisherman, a
Okay.
small fisherman,
Okay.
right? So, people might not know.
Uh-huh.
They might see on the outside that this is a big man industry when they say like B&D and Rainforest at the head
Yes.
of the situation, but the fishery actually goes right down to the small man, and we
Yes.
buy all our product from Jamaican fishers,
Yes.
and we clean that in our EU approved facility, and we send that abroad.
Yeah. Tell me, for those who don't know much about this industry, the conch industry, where do we fish mostly for conch? Where?
Yeah.
In
So
Jamaica?
for industrial fishery, where we fish on the Pedro banks, which many people would have heard of the Pedro Keys.
Yes.
But the Pedro banks is like 2/3 the size of Jamaica, and it runs on the south coast, and that's our designated fishing area.
Oh, and it's rich in.
Rich in all sort of sea life and marine life. It will blow your mind to see the pristine waters that are out there.
And I
and the
hope we've been
ecosystem.
taking care of that.
Yes, and a big part of it is the whole sustainability certification that we're getting now. So we have international people that are coming and digging in with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that we don't overfish this product, that we don't damage the ecosystem, that we have laws in place to protect the industry.
Yeah. And why is that so important? That this system of regime and regulations.
Yeah, well, it's important that we have this resource for our children and our grandchildren. And that's really what the backbone of this project is, to ensure that we have this resource forevermore, ensure that we can provide employment for people year to year. And with that economic substance, we believe we'll make Jamaica a better place.
In terms of the proven reserves or, the resource that's available, one of the presenters earlier this evening said that it's finite. Is it?
It sure is. It sure is finite, which is exactly why we have to protect it. It is finite, and we have to try and maximize the value from from the limited resource.
But it can be a very lucrative niche market. Yeah, the
Well,
numbers suggest that.
it can be, but as I said, there's ups and downs.
Yeah.
So currently, a big part of this certification is that we're very dependent on one market, which is Martinique and Guadeloupe, the French Caribbean. And we can't compete because our cost of production in Jamaica is so high. We can't compete with other places like Belize, St. Vincent, who are producing it much cheaper and selling it into the US. But they don't, as we said, this is the first conch fishery in the world to be sustainably certified. So they won't have this certification now. So our hope is that we can break into new markets.
Primarily in the U.S.?
Primarily U.S., Canada, maybe Spain, and see if we can break into that market now.
And that market, you get a higher return per pound, don't you?
Well, currently we'd get a lower return in that market. So what we're hoping is that this certification would allow us to get a higher return.
Yes. And after today, it's a big day. The next steps now.
Well, the next steps is, the Compete Caribbean project. It's not just the MSc certification, but we have some value-added products that we're working on. Cluster development, changing the legislation to allow us to work together instead of rewarding individuality. And, I think the future is bright. And as I said, this is the start, not the finish.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Tink you very much for having me.
Roderick Francis, Cluster Lead. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us.
Thank you.
Good. And we're going to turn now to the Minister, of Agriculture, the Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Elizabeth. Good evening, Minister.
Evening to all your viewers. And
I heard your
listeners.
speech. Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It's been a journey, and I got to see it firsthand. When I came to the Ministry of State Minister, it was a very difficult time. Difficult time. I mean, countless meetings with the persons who participate in the sector. At that time, we had to take the difficult decision to close down the sector.
Yes.
And it was difficult because clearly people were put out of work, but we knew that if we didn't do that, we couldn't be here today. Because when we looked at our numbers, our survey numbers, we had fallen very, very low in terms of the conch stock. So we had to give some space for it to be rebuilt, quite frankly. And one of the big issues was the poaching that was happening and people coming outside. And sometimes, Cliff, we don't see how these things are connected, but one of the pluses that we've had and one of the successes is the infrastructure support to the Ministry of National Security through the vessels that they have gotten to better patrol our shores. The first day the new vessel went out, they caught poachers. Right, the very first day they went out. So that has
poachers from other countries.
From other countries who came into our waters and were taken. Clearly they go for the species that are highly valued, so conch, lobster. So that has helped us tremendously, but we've also taken a very scientific approach to it. So what we do now that we never used to do, it costs us a lot, but it's important, is that we do a survey every year.
Every year?
Every year on our conch stock. Right? And that's what we use.
And we have the technical capacity to do that.
We have the technical capacity to do it. It is costly, so a lot of the money that we collect from the sector now just goes into that. Right? But we have the technical capacity to do it. We do hope that based on some good moves that have been made by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with our National Fisheries Authority, we expect in a year or so to get a research vessel that will give us greater capacity. So we're working on that. But we do that every year. We have a quota system. So, our fishers are only allowed to take a certain amount, and that is internationally approved. And we also have a season. So we are now in the conch season. So you can eat conch freely now. But there is a time when we have a closed season where conch should not be consumed, and what we have been doing is ramping up our enforcement on that. And that has, we want people to comply, but what we've been doing is, we've been putting people before the courts when they're doing conch outside of the season. So we continue to do this work, but this is very big for Jamaica, because a lot of our conch is consumed on the international market. It is something that gets very good price. It's a high value industry. EU, we've been serving that industry for that area for a while. But this certification now puts us apart, because in this day and age, everybody is concerned about sustainability. What are your practices? Are your artisanal fishers incorporated in what you're doing? Is it safe? Is it traceable? Right. We can say that we tick all of those boxes, and I think it's a big plus.
And are we building the capacity to maintain that regime? To make sure we keep up the standard.
So one of the things that we probably don't speak about enough, but a lot of it started from legislation change and policy change. So we moved the fisheries division from just being a division of of the ministry to being a separate entity, now the National Fisheries Authority. And that was back with a new legislation that spoke much more to sustainability, much more much more power for you to monitor what is happening out there. And it has taken us some time, but now we're building out the structure of our National Fisheries Authority. So we have enforcement officers. Like how you have a RADA for agriculture, where you have extension services, we now have that for fisheries. So we have officers who can visit and can train and can talk. So this is just one aspect. I mean, as we speak now, we're doing training in about 5 fishing beaches with 20 fishers per beach to look at what we call long line fishing, because our near shore fish population has been significantly depleted, so now they have to go further out, but they have to use different techniques. And I can tell you, they went out, they've been able to catch marlin. I got some, and I mean, if you see the joy on the faces. So we have put inside a process now that will sustain this. So the certification is really just validation, but we have the system to sustain it.
Yes. And for this project, it's a classic case of several stakeholders coming together.
Several stakeholders coming together. The fishery sector is highly competitive, largely because it's a quota-based sector.
Yes.
So not everybody will get through. Not everybody will get the quota that they want. And everybody wants more quota, right? So for years, everybody was, we want this quota. And then I don't think they recognize until it's shut down that they had to come together. They had to come together. So it started with 4. As you have heard now, 92% of those who get a quota are a part of the cluster. And it's a real partnership, because we had support from the IDB, we had support from Complete Caribbean, we had really good technical people who worked with us. The UK gave us some support, Canada gave us some support. So it was a real all hands on deck approach. So it is a model now, Cliff, that we can take and we can look at other fisheries. Again, we have a highly sought after lobster market. We have to continuously say that in fisheries, it has to be sustainably managed, because it can be completely depleted. You have places in the world that they don't have a conch fisheries, and they used to have one. So we're looking now, can we take the same approach of clustering, getting them work together, look at the principles to maybe our lobster industry, so that we can ensure that it will be here for generations to come. So one of the things that we're going to be doing, I didn't mention it in the speech, but we're going to be now moving from this to have a retreat with the players in the sector, to look at some of the other changes that are needed to institutionalize the support, to look at maybe some of the changes. Industries evolve, so some of the changes that we need to make on the legislative side, so that they can work together better. Because sometimes how we structure the sector puts them at loggerheads. So we're looking at all of that.
I traveled, put on your MP and hat now, in addition to agriculture. Holland Bamboo is in your constituency?
It's actually in Northwest. So
but
JC,
just on the border.
But it's just on the border, and it for all of us from St. Elizabeth, it's an iconic destination.
Well, for me as a little boy, one of the first beauty spots I fell in love with my country.
Absolutely.
And I drove through there last week, and I was appalled.
So let me tell you what's happening. So you may not know, but
we should tell the listeners what I saw.
Okay,
the bamboo has virtually disappeared. You are now seeing the sky. And it seems as if there's a serious drought in the area as well. It's parched brown.
Absolutely. So I'll say a couple of things. So Holland Bamboo does actually fall under the Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay.
It actually is under our public gardens program. So, when I came to the ministry in 2021, and I had the same issue that you had. Growing up as a young boy, when you used to go in Holland Bamboo, you used to have to turn on the car lights. It was so dark. And I said to the team, something must be done. And we got the Ministry of Tourism involved. And we started a process where we started a nursery for the bamboo, right? And in fact, we have actually started to replant bamboo in Holland Bamboo. So we have a project currently underway, replanting bamboo. We've had some challenges. We've had some challenges from fires. We've had some challenges from cattle, right, that have eaten the young bamboo shoots. We have had to adjust. But this year, so we did a lot of planting last year. But I'm telling you now, this year, of all the years, this is the worst we're seeing in relation to the drought. So of all the challenges that the bamboo has faced with storm, fire, we're at a critical juncture now. In fact, the team is now scoping a costing for an irrigation system to see if we can design a system to take some water from the Black River that runs by Holland Bamboo and to irrigate the walk. Now, you know the length of Holland Bamboo. It's going to be a costly exercise. But the reality is we have to save that iconic destination. So we're doing the costings now.
Is it still possible to be saved?
Well, if you realize, bamboo is very resilient. So
and grows very quickly.
And grows very quickly.
Yeah.
But these bamboos have been here for years. And the truth is, unfortunately, for decades, we just took it for granted. That Holland bamboo would just be there. And for decades, we speak about climate change, But even when the bamboo was damaged by storm, we haven't seen the browning that we're seeing now.
Yes, that is the scary part.
So, and what it is as a result of, last year we had our hottest and driest year ever on record. We got rain, but it was not to the levels to bring back the bamboo. And then this year, we're fully, in that part of the world, we're fully in drought again. Right? So what it means is that we will have to design a water system to serve Holland bamboo right throughout the year. We did see positive...
But that ain't going to come on anytime too soon.
Well, Cliff, we're here.
It's going to take some time.
We have the NIC in-house. The NIC actually has a loading bay close. The river is there. They're designing the system now, and then we'll cost it. The challenge will be here in the budgetary allocation.
How much are you looking at?
I'm not sure. But it's with appreciating irrigation systems now, it's going to take a hefty sum because, the bamboo is a significant distance. And you'll have to do all of the bamboo.
And it's not only the bamboo, the Holland bamboo, but all of that area surrounding it.
Yes.
Which is usually a farming area.
Yes. So, again, so what you see in the bamboo is reflective of what's happening in the area. That area used to be, the challenge used to be water. Can I tell you? The challenge used to be, not too much water.
Too much water.
When Appleton used to operate it, they had to operate a pump to pump off water off the land. And that's to show you how the climate truly has changed. So when we took over Holland, we did say, let's put in a facility for loading, and that has been done. And thankfully, we've done that. So the farmers benefit from that. But we still have to do some more. Thankfully, Spur Tree is there. I don't know if you know, but Spur Tree Spices has a factory there. And we're trying to see now, how can we streamline what happens at Spur Tree Spices with what the farmers farm in that area. But there is an overarching development plan for Holland Bamboo. We're working with the Ministry of Tourism. There's an area that we want to set up a location that people could go and sit and chill and relax.
So given the serious nature of the drought this time, how is that impacting the shrimp industry? That is also significant for the residents of that.
I have some of the most resilient people in the world. Middle Quarters is in my constituency. They have the best pepper shrimp in the entire world.
I have to stop and buy my pepper shrimp there.
And I mean, they've harnessed their skills for years. They're still out. They'll tell you they've faced challenges with sourcing shrimp, right? That is a challenge, but they still may do. Still may do. As you will see, sometimes you have to get the bigger crayfish, they call it, that we catch upriver. We still have that. We are seeing the ecosystem come back. There was a time that the ecosystem was not well monitored. So a lot happened in that river, right? It has gotten some space to bring back life. We're now looking at a program to see how we can accelerate the pace of rebuilding the ecosystem. The good news with our fishery sector in general and our marine ecosystem is that, yes, it can be destroyed, but if you take the right steps, you can rebuild it. So what we're focusing on now is how can we rebuild the ecosystem in that area. And we have, there's so many great success stories, Cliff, about those women in Middle Quarters, how hard they've worked and how well their children
are doing.
I mean, we don't tell those stories enough about just regular Jamaicans who day in, day out, children have gone to college. They don't take loans
from the swims.
From the swims. from the swim. So, and in general, we are watching the drought. We have already started to provide water to our farmers, right? We definitely were aiming for growth this year. We had a tough year last year, but we are building resilience. Resilience.
Floyd Green is the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries and Mining. Yes. Thank you so much,
No
Mr.
problem.
Green.
Anytime.
Good. After the break, we'll have more.
The Jamaica Conch Cluster, JCC, has received a groundbreaking achievement in receiving the Marine Stewardship Council certification for the Jamaica Queen Conch. This means that the JCC can proudly bear the MSC logo, signaling commitment, sustainability, and profitability. Special thanks to the Government of Jamaica and its agencies and their implementation and funding partners, the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility. For more information, visit the MSC website at www.fisheries.msc.org or contact them directly at conclusterjam@gmail.com.
Stand out among competitors. Show your commitment to quality. Submit your entry in the Bureau of Standards Jamaica National Quality Awards Program. Your entry provides the opportunity for a free comprehensive assessment of your organization's management system and facilitates improvement in effectiveness and efficiency. This prestigious award associates your organization with performance excellence. Step into a world of excellence. Gain access to international markets. Enter today.
Call 618-1534. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica, making standards work for you.
There's a new gym on the block. Listen up, Portmore. Express Fitness is coming to the Big Buy Plaza. Get ready to sweat at our brand new location. And here's the best part. To celebrate, we're offering an unbeatable deal of only $1,000 for the first month. That's right. For only $1,000, you'll have access to state-of-the-art equipment and a community that's all about reaching your fitness goals. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Head down to Express Fitness at Big Buy Plaza in Portmore, where your journey to a better you begins.
Good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes. It's 22 minutes going up to 8 o'clock, and we're at the AC Marriott in Kingston, and we've been talking about the Queen Conch fishery here in Jamaica. It's the JCC, the Jamaica Conch Cluster, and they have achieved a unique distinction, yes. They are now a globally certified Marine Stewardship Council here in Conch Fishery here in Jamaica. And we're being joined by the Regional Director of that MSC, that's the Certification Council. Yes, the MSC, the Stewardship Council, right? Erica Feller. Good evening, Erica.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. First of all, for Jamaicans listening, yes? This process of certification, and why is it so important?
There's a couple reasons it's so important. One of the big ones is that the health of the oceans depends on the health of fisheries. And there's a lot of people out there that really care about the oceans, that want to find ways to act to help protect the oceans. And the Marine Stewardship Council has established a fisheries standard that can say, here is the things that if a fishery meets this bar, you, the customer, can be assured that it's sustainably managed and you're making a choice that's good for the environment. And so it kind of creates that framework for people to understand, how to make choices that benefit the ocean. Because, sometimes it can be really hard to know where your food is coming from and what it is and how it was produced.
And how do you go about certifying, for example, the Jamaican fishery?
Well, it was a long journey, as we heard a lot about this evening. The certification process usually comes as the tail end of many years of work to address sustainability challenges in the fishery. But the way it works is the Marine Stewardship Council, the organization I work for, is the holder of the standard. So we create it, we maintain it as a high standard, we evaluate it every once in a while, and it exists, and it's globally consistent. The Jamaican conch fishery, in order to get certified, looked at that standard, said that's the bar we want to achieve. And then they go and they hired in this case MRAG Americas as their assessor, because our system is third party. So a third party expert will come in and say, do you or don't you meet this standard? So they brought in MRAG Americas to work with them and take a look at how their fishery was managed. They look at the health of the target population. So in this case, how are queen conch doing in Pedro Bank? Are we managing them within sustainable levels? Yes, okay. What's the impact of the fishery on the environment? What kind of gear they're using, how they're prosecuting the fishery, other species that might be impacted. Are we satisfied that those impacts are reduced? And then they look at the management and governance of the fishery. So all the work that the minister does, is the fishery following all of the relevant rules? Does it have processes in for stakeholder involvement and participant-led management and all those things? And they evaluate them against those criteria and make a decision whether to grant the certification. And the Jamaican conch fishery passed and achieved their certification just recently.
We made a cut.
Absolutely.
And tell me, is it a fact that the Jamaican fishery is the first to be so certified?
It is the first conch fishery in the world to be certified. It's also the first fishery in Jamaica to be certified. And those are two really exciting milestones.
So is it that we have very few countries going after this certification for their conch fisheries? Or what? I'm trying to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
Why would Jamaica be the first conch fishery?
Well, I think it's a demonstration of the leadership that Jamaica is taking in management of conch fisheries. Conch are important throughout the Caribbean. And, they are an iconic species in this region. It's something that I certainly think about when I come here. And it's, like any marine species, it requires conservation and management attention in order to have a fishery that's going to be sustainable over the long term. That's not always the case with all fisheries.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think, we heard the story tonight that there were a lot of factors that really motivated and helped the government and helped the leaders in the fishery and the fishermen and a lot of development funders see that we really need to kind of take a long, hard look at how we're sustainably managing this resource and take action to address that. And they use the MSC certification process as a mechanism to support their efforts.
Right.
And rather than saying, why not, I would like to look forward and say, how can Jamaica's leadership inspire the region to look at conch across the region and say, let's do more of this, as well as, I really applaud the minister's commitment to sustainable management of Jamaica's fisheries. So we could be looking beyond conch here too.
Right. So tell me, Erica, in terms of our competitors across the Caribbean, clearly we are doing something very well, yeah? But how are they doing?
I think it's, we don't have, one of the things to note about the MSC process is that it's a voluntary program.
Okay.
I think one of the things that's so important about sustainability initiatives is that they require this partnership between the fishers, the industry, the government, which means everybody needs to we need them to want to be at the table. So that voluntary nature is really important. Those other fisheries haven't sought MSC certification, so I'm not going to get into what they're doing well and what they may not be doing well.
Yeah.
But I think there's an invitation here for them to look at MSC, to recognize that this is a really important resource in the region. In some places, it's a resource that needs some conservation attention. And, look at the example that Jamaica has set for how they could maybe move forward with sustainable management of their fisheries.
Thanks so much for stopping by. Thank you, Erica Fella.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Good. This is Nationwide at 5.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you're good, you're just good.
Hey, Had the national flavor. You go want to buy this pack. So good. It's just so good.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at LaBelle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
Real estate dealers and salesmen, this year's licensing period is almost here. Skip the hassle and take advantage of the Real Estate Board's new direct online client portal payment platform. Go to our client portal and create an account to get started. Whether you're paying license fees, penalties, or continuing professional development courses, status notifications give you the peace of mind that your payments were successful, and emails with meeting links for your courses. Use the Real Estate Board's new client portal payment platform. Get on with the business of turning houses into homes.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to Nationwide at 5, coming to you from the AC Marriott in Kingston. We're here for a milestone for the Jamaican conch industry. Yes, the conch, we now have the Jamaica Conch Cluster, and they are certified, Marine Stewardship Council certification. That is to say, listen, this is the gold standard, yes, of fishing and harvesting and producing or conch to some of the highest standards of the world. And we have with us from Compete Caribbean, its coordinator for innovation and productivity, Wayne Elliott. Compete Caribbean, Wayne, played a crucial role in getting the conch industry here. Tell me about that role.
Sure, no problem. Good night.
Good evening.
Good night, Jamaica. So Compete Caribbean really is a collaboration. It's a private sector development fund, really. We sit within the Inter-American Development Bank, and we're financed by 4 donors. The Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, the United Kingdom Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, FCDO, the Government of Canada, and the Caribbean Development Bank. So essentially, we sit within donors, within the financiers of many projects across Jamaica, across the Caribbean. And we have a specific focus on private sector development. So we work with governments to make it easier for the private sector to do what they need to do. And we also work with innovative clusters and firms, or groups of firms, clusters, to really push the frontiers, to do many different first things, many different innovative things we haven't ever seen in the Caribbean.
And this is certainly one of them.
This is certainly one of them, yes sir.
Yeah.
For Jamaica, it's not the first cluster that we've worked with. But it is one of the first of many. So first fishery that has been MSC certified in Jamaica. First conch fishery, MSC certified globally. And so for us, that's a really big deal. We're very happy to be able to support it. And the role we really play is we provide grant resources, donor resources. So we play a coordination kind of role. We're also the executing agency. So a lot of the hurdles that you would normally come across with the execution of the projects, international procurement, reaching and identifying the best consultants, Compete Caribbean, sitting within the Inter-American Development Bank, we provide the reach that you wouldn't ordinarily get within necessarily regional organizations or sometimes national organizations. So what we really did, we brought the financing to the table. And we also do a lot of the backstopping, the technical assistance in terms of identifying the right consultants, ensuring that the project is really implemented, and holding the hand of the cluster all the way through implementation. So specific to the MSc certification, we would have worked with the cluster to basically define and develop the project itself. We provided technical assistance for that. We also provided technical assistance to work through the process. We did a pre-feasibility even before we went to undertake the full MSc certification to try to figure out if it was even worthwhile. Does it even make sense before we invest too much resources, too much time? And once the answer was yes, we went full steam ahead and we began formally the MSc process. So within that, we would have contracted the auditors, MRAG Americas, and they would have come in, they would have done a lot of work here in terms of following the protocols of the MSc and really doing the assessment against the standard, and really managing that relationship, working with the cluster to ensure that they get the value out of the process, and facilitating a lot of the work with the international consultants and the other international organizations.
So from concept to reality, how long was that?
From concept, we would have launched a call in 2020 for blue economy clusters who are interested. The Jamaica Conch cluster, they would have submitted to that. The first thing they would have gotten would have been technical assistance to help them to flesh out the project. So they had the idea, they weren't quite sure exactly how it would hang together. We provided support for them to really flesh it out, really provide the nuts and bolts and really think through what they were trying to do. It went into a competition within Compete Caribbean, so that took about 6 months for them to be notified that they would have won the grant. So that's 2020. Around November, we issued the call. They would have been notified around May, March, April, let's say. By May, we would have
2021.
2021. And then we would have started to work from there. So,
and how much is the grant? The
grant right now is US $400,000. So up to that amount, we're going to be utilizing to finance activities related to the cluster. The certification doesn't take up all of that money, but the certification was it's a linchpin for the project, right? If it is that we have limitations on what we can sustainably take, then can we get a certification for that? And then can we leverage that certification to increase the amount, increase the premiums that we take from what we're actually able to catch?
Now that you have gotten here, is this inspiring other players, other industries in the Caribbean to really look in the direction of Jamaica and say, well, if they can do it, we can do it?
Well, I certainly hope so, right? I know for sure from being around Jamaica over the last couple of days, it surely inspired Jamaica, right? You would have heard the minister speak about it, and other fisheries, and how do we scale this out in Jamaica, right? I'm quite sure by the time I return to the head office, there are going to be a couple of calls coming in.
Where's your head office?
We're in Barbados. Compete Caribbean sits in the Inter-American Development Bank office in Barbados. That's where we're headquartered. But we have projects across 13 beneficiary countries in the Caribbean.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have a pretty big portfolio right now. We have about 52 projects.
Yes.
The entire portfolio is just under $30 million US.
Okay.
So yeah, we do quite a bit of work.
And the industries that you currently have.
So we're sector agnostic. We work in any sector. Fundamentally, what we really target is innovation, right? We're looking for innovation everywhere, anywhere we can find it. But then we do highlight specific themes. So the blue economy for us was one of those important ones. We've done quite a bit of work with digital technologies as well. We've had quite a bit of agricultural clusters that we've supported. We've done agri-tech and working with some technology firms operating within the agriculture space. And then we do a lot of open calls, right? So just looking for innovation wherever it might be. And we're particularly fond of clusters. Working in the Caribbean, collaboration doesn't come as first nature. But when we do collaborate, I think what we've witnessed here this afternoon just really shows you what the Caribbean people are really able to do when we work together. And so I think now we have a model on how we can roll this out, not only across Jamaica, but across the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Right? And we really want to thank the guys in Jamaica for really working with us and being a part of the process, right? Not only did they achieve it, but we also figured out the model on how we're able to support other clusters to do similar things. So I think it's a win-win all the way around.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Wayne Elliott.
No problem. Thank you,
Coordinator, Compete Caribbean. in charge of innovation and productivity. Thank you so much, Mr. Elliott. So you might be inspired. Yeah, you may want to think about, yes, some innovative tech-related project initiative you may be considering. You may want to consider, yeah, applying to Compete Caribbean. That's where we're going to leave it for this evening. We want to say thanks to our producer, Sonia Stewart Perkins, of course, our videographer, Jamal Tucker, our broadcast engineer, Mr. Jermaine Compass. He was assisted by Sheldon Richards. Yes, Compass, Jermaine, and myself and Jamal. We have had 2 days in one. We started about 4:30 this morning. Yeah, so it's been a long day. Well done, gentlemen. Yes, that's how we're going to leave it for this evening. Thanks to the team back at Broadcasting House. Yes, led by the youngster, George Davis. I'm Cliff Hughes, reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home.